Hi, I'm Estelle. For 37 years, I've lived in this two-story craftsman on Maple Street. Every crack in the ceiling, every creak in the floorboards has a story. When my husband passed 12 years ago, I decided to stay. Marcus, my son, thought I should sell. "Mom, this place is too big for just one person," he said over Sunday dinner, cutting into his roast with precision. "I like the space," I replied, passing the gravy. "Besides, it's paid off. Your father made sure of that." Marcus exchanged glances with his wife, Vanessa. "Real estate in this neighborhood is skyrocketing. You could make a fortune and get a nice condo." "And what would I do with a fortune? Buy more yarn?" I laughed, but nobody joined me. That was 2 years ago. Since then, Marcus has brought up selling at least once a month. Yesterday, he and Vanessa arrived unannounced with their 2 children, Jake and Emma, and, to my surprise, Vanessa's mother, Judith. "Mom, we need to talk," Marcus said, not even sitting down. The children immediately ran upstairs to the spare bedroom where they usually stayed during visits. "Hello to you too," I said, wiping my hands on a dish towel. "Would anyone like some tea?" Judith stepped forward. "That would be lovely, Estelle." Vanessa shot her mother a look. "We don't have time for tea." I raised an eyebrow. "There's always time for tea in my house." "That's actually what we need to discuss," Marcus said, finally taking a seat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd fed him for 18 years. "The housing market has crashed. Our mortgage is underwater." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, filling the kettle despite Vanessa's obvious impatience. "We've sold the house," Vanessa blurted out. "We close in 2 weeks." I set the kettle down. "And you're telling me this because—" Marcus cleared his throat. "My wife, kids, and mother-in-law will live here. It's crowded, but we've decided you'll manage." The kettle began to whistle, but no one moved. "You've decided?" I repeated. "Mom, be reasonable." Marcus leaned forward. "It makes perfect sense. This house has 4 bedrooms. You only use 1. "Because it's my house," I said quietly. Judith looked uncomfortable. "Perhaps I should wait in the car." "No, Mother," Vanessa said sharply. "We agreed this is best for everyone." "Everyone except me," I observed. "Mom, don't be dramatic," Marcus said. "You're always saying you're lonely. Now you'll have company." "There's a difference between visitors and residents, Marcus." Later that evening, after they'd left, promising to return with moving trucks in 10 days, I called my friend Dorothy. "They said what?" Dorothy's voice crackled through the phone. "Tell me you're joking." "I wish I were," I sighed, looking around my living room. "Apparently, I'll manage with 5 extra people in my house." "Including Vanessa's mother? Isn't she younger than you? Why can't she get her own place?" "According to Marcus, she's between jobs, has been for 3 years." Dorothy was silent for a moment. "Estelle, honey, this isn't right. Have you talked to anyone else about this?" "Just you. I'm still in shock." "My nephew is a real estate lawyer," Dorothy said. "You should talk to him. This is your house, not a free hotel." "Marcus is my son," I whispered, my voice breaking. "Yes, and he's treating you like a doormat," Dorothy replied. "Listen to me carefully. Tomorrow morning we're going to see Benjamin. No arguments." After hanging up, I went upstairs to what used to be Marcus's bedroom. Now it was my craft room, filled with quilting supplies and half-finished projects. According to Vanessa's hurried floor plan she'd sketched, this would become Jake and Emma's room. My phone buzzed with a text from my neighbor, Mrs. Chen. "Just saw Marcus and family leave. Everything okay?" They seemed in a hurry. I typed back. "They're planning to move in. All of them." 3 dots appeared immediately. "Without asking?" "That's not right, Estelle. My sister had the same problem. Call me tomorrow." Sleep eluded me that night. Around 3 a.m., my phone lit up with another text from Marcus. "Found some great storage solutions for your craft supplies. Vanessa thinks the basement would work for your sewing table." And just like that, I knew what I needed to do. "Absolutely not," Benjamin Simmons said, adjusting his glasses. "Mrs. Watson, as the sole owner of the property, you have complete control over who lives there." Dorothy nodded triumphantly. "Told you, Estelle." We sat in Benjamin's downtown office, surrounded by law books and framed diplomas. The morning light streamed through Venetian blinds, casting striped shadows across his mahogany desk. "But he's my son," I said weakly, "and they've already sold their house." "Did they consult you before making that decision?" Benjamin asked, though he clearly knew the answer. "No? Did they offer to pay rent, utilities, discuss how long this arrangement would last?" I shook my head. "Mrs. Watson, I've seen this scenario play out dozens of times. Without clear boundaries, these temporary arrangements become permanent." Dorothy reached over and squeezed my hand. "Tell her about Mrs. Goldstein." Benjamin leaned back. "Had a client last year, similar situation. Her daughter's family moved in just until they found a new place. 3 years later, they'd taken over the entire house. Mrs. Goldstein was essentially living in her own guest room." "That's terrible," I murmured. "It gets worse. When she finally put her foot down, they suggested she consider assisted living." A cold feeling settled in my stomach. "Marcus mentioned something similar last month. Said I might be happier with people my own age." "Red flag," Benjamin said, making a note. "Let me ask you something. Do you want them living with you?" "I love seeing my grandchildren," I started. "That's not what I asked," Benjamin interrupted gently. I looked at Dorothy, then back at Benjamin. No, I don't." "Then we have several options," he said, typing something on his computer. "Based on what you've told me, I'm concerned about potential elder exploitation." "That's a bit extreme," I protested. "Is it? They're making decisions about your property without consent. Moving in without permission is technically trespassing." Dorothy nodded vigorously. "And that text about moving your things to the basement? That's just wrong," Benjamin continued. "Here's what I suggest. First, we document everything, every conversation, every text. Second, we draft a formal letter establishing that they do not have permission to move in." "Marcus will be furious," I whispered. "Probably," Benjamin agreed. "But consider this. If you allow this now, what's next?" After leaving Benjamin's office, Dorothy and I met Mrs. Chen for lunch at a small cafe downtown. "My sister hired a locksmith," Mrs. Chen said, stirring her tea. "Changed the locks the day before they were supposed to arrive with their moving truck." "That seems extreme," I said. "Is it?" Mrs. Chen raised an eyebrow. "They sold their house without telling you. They're making plans for your rooms without asking." "Mrs. Chen's right," Dorothy added. "Marcus knows exactly what he's doing. He's counting on you being too nice to stop him." "Have they even asked how you feel about this?" Mrs. Chen asked. I stared into my untouched soup. "No, Marcus just said I'd manage." Mrs. Chen set her spoon down with a clink. "And what happens when you don't manage? When having 7 people in a house built for 2 or 3 becomes too much? Will they help you, or suggest you move somewhere else so they can have the entire house?" Benjamin mentioned something similar. "Because it happens all the time," Mrs. Chen said firmly. "My sister almost lost her home that way." "What did she do?" I asked. "She fought back, legally, and won." Later that afternoon, I received another text from Marcus. "Vanessa's thinking the master bedroom would be better for us since we need the attached bathroom. You'd be fine in the smaller room upstairs, right?" I showed Dorothy and Mrs. Chen. "That's it," Dorothy said, pulling out her phone. "I'm calling Benjamin right now." "And I'm calling my locksmith," Mrs. Chen added. "You changed the locks?" Marcus stood on my porch, his face flushed with anger. Behind him, a moving truck idled in my driveway. Vanessa was directing movers while Judith sat in their car with the children. "Yes," I said calmly, standing in the doorway but not inviting him in. "I did." "Mom, this isn't funny. Open the door. The movers are charging by the hour." "I'm not letting you move in, Marcus." His eyes widened. "What are you talking about? We've already sold our house. We close tomorrow." "That was your decision, made without consulting me." "We're family." His voice rose. "You can't just leave us homeless." From across the street, Mrs. Chen emerged onto her porch, phone in hand, watching carefully. "You're not homeless," I said. You have money from your house sale. Rent an apartment. Vanessa marched up the steps, face tight with anger. Marcus, what's going on? My mother has apparently lost her mind, he snapped. I haven't lost anything, I replied. Except, perhaps, some misplaced trust. Estelle, Vanessa said, her voice honeyed but eyes cold. We've already discussed this. Everyone agreed it's the best solution. Everyone except me, I corrected. And since this is my house, my opinion matters most. Marcus stepped closer, lowering his voice. Mom, don't make a scene. The neighbors are watching. Good, I said. Witnesses are always helpful. Witnesses? Vanessa hissed. What are you talking about? I pulled an envelope from my pocket. This is a formal notice prepared by my attorney. It states that you do not have permission to move into my home. Marcus snatched the envelope, tore it open, and scanned the document. His face darkened. You got a lawyer? Against your own son? To protect myself, I clarified. After you decided to take over my home without my consent. We weren't taking over, Vanessa protested. We were going to share. Share? I repeated. You plan to move me to a smaller bedroom, relocate my craft room to the basement, take over my kitchen, my living room, my garden. It's just stuff, Marcus shouted. We're talking about family here. Yes, we are, I agreed. Family should respect boundaries. Family shouldn't make unilateral decisions about other family members' property. Judith emerged from the car and approached tentatively. Perhaps we should discuss this calmly inside. There's nothing to discuss, I said firmly. I'm not allowing any of you to move in. That decision is final. Marcus crumpled the letter in his fist. You'd leave your own grandchildren without a roof over their heads? What kind of grandmother are you? One who expects her son to be responsible for his own family, not dump them on his mother. You selfish old... Marcus caught himself, but his face was contorted with rage. Careful, Marcus, I warned. Mrs. Chen is recording this conversation. He whirled around to see Mrs. Chen holding up her phone. This is a private family matter, Vanessa shouted at her. Elder abuse is everyone's concern, Mrs. Chen called back calmly. Elder abuse? Marcus looked incredulous. That's ridiculous. Mom, tell her this is a misunderstanding. Is it? I asked. You sold your house without telling me, announced you were moving your entire family into mine without asking, and when I object, you call me selfish and try to intimidate me. No one is intimidating you, Marcus said through gritted teeth. Your body language says otherwise, I observed. Now please take your moving truck and leave my property. Or what? He challenged. Or I call the police and report you for trespassing, I said simply. You wouldn't dare. I pulled out my phone. Try me. Judith placed a hand on Marcus's arm. Let's go, Marcus. We can figure this out later. Figure what out? He snapped. My mother is throwing us out on the street. You were never in, I pointed out. And you have the proceeds from your house sale. You're hardly destitute. This isn't over, Marcus warned, backing down the steps. You'll regret this. Is that a threat? Mrs. Chen called out. Marcus pointed at her. Stay out of this. Marcus, I said sharply. Leave now, or I'm calling the police. He stared at me for a long moment, then turned to the moving truck. Turn around! We're leaving! As they pulled away, Mrs. Chen crossed the street to my porch. Are you okay, Estelle? My hands were shaking. No, but I will be. 2 weeks later, I sat across from Benjamin Simmons again, this time with Officer Rodriguez present. These text messages definitely constitute harassment, Officer Rodriguez said, scrolling through my phone. And this voicemail where he threatens to make you sorry could be interpreted as a criminal threat. I never thought it would come to this, I said softly. Family disputes often escalate when property is involved, Benjamin replied. Has he attempted to enter your home? Mrs. Chen caught him trying the back door yesterday when I was out shopping. She has it on her security camera. That's attempted breaking and entering, Officer Rodriguez noted. We have enough for a restraining order. Against my own son, I murmured. Mrs. Watson, Officer Rodriguez said gently. Your son's behavior has crossed several legal lines. This isn't about punishment. It's about protection. The doorbell rang exactly at 4 o'clock the next day. Right on time, Dorothy remarked as I went to answer it. Marcus stood on my porch, flanked by a uniformed officer and a woman in a business suit. Mr. Watson, the officer said, you've been served with a temporary restraining order. You're required to stay at least 100 yards away from your mother and her property. Marcus looked stunned. Mom? What is this? The consequences of your actions, I said simply. I'm Angela Morris from Adult Protective Services, the woman introduced herself. We'd like to ask you some questions about recent interactions with your mother. This is insane, Marcus sputtered. I was trying to help her. By taking her home? Dorothy called from behind me. Mrs. Watson has filed a formal complaint with evidence of harassment, unauthorized entry attempts, and verbal threats, Miss Morris continued. I never threatened her, Marcus protested. You'll regret this, and I'll make you sorry, qualify as threats under state law, the officer informed him. 3 months later, I was working in my newly brightened craft room when the doorbell rang. I checked my security camera before answering. Vanessa stood alone on my porch. Hello, Vanessa, I said, not opening the screen door. Estelle, she replied with a tight nod. I've come to apologize. For what specifically? She sighed. For everything. We should have asked, not told. Yes, you should have. The children miss you, she said. They keep asking when they can see Grandma. They can see me anytime. The restraining order is only against Marcus. He's sorry too, she offered. He's just too proud to say it. His pride isn't my concern, I said. His behavior is. Can't we put this behind us? Vanessa pleaded. For the sake of family. Family respects boundaries, I replied. Has Marcus learned that lesson? We found a townhouse, she said, looking away. It's small, but it works for now. I'm glad to hear it. So, can we start over? She asked hopefully. No, I said firmly. We can move forward, but some things can't be undone. Marcus showed me who he really is. Someone who would bully his own mother out of her home. I won't forget that. People make mistakes, she insisted. Yes, and there are consequences. Marcus can see the grandchildren when they visit with you, but our relationship has permanently changed. Later, Mrs. Chen brought over a housewarming gift, a doormat reading, "No uninvited guests." I love it, I laughed, setting it by the front door. How are you feeling about everything? She asked as we sat on the porch. Stronger, I replied. Sad, but stronger. Was it worth it? Standing up to them? I looked around at my home. Still mine, still peaceful. Absolutely. Sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are with the people closest to you, but they are often the most necessary. What would you tell someone else in your situation? Mrs. Chen asked. I thought for a moment. That your home is sacred, and that real love doesn't take. It respects. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family? Sometimes the greatest act of self-love is saying no to those who would take advantage of your kindness. Remember, you deserve respect, especially from those who claim to love you.